Okay, imagine this. You walk into your favorite sports bar, right? Or maybe even just a really decked out home entertainment setup. You've got TVs everywhere, maybe streaming different things, probably from different Fire Sticks. Now think about all the remotes that means. Just the fumbling around trying to find the right one, that little panic when you switch the wrong screen, just as like the big play is happening. Now scale that image way up. Dozens of TVs, dozens of Fire Sticks. It just becomes, well, chaos, an operational nightmare. So today we're doing a deep dive into a system designed specifically to tackle that exact kind of chaos. It's called the WolfPad Multiple FireStick Tablet Control System.
Yeah, and our mission here really is to understand how this product, which seems pretty simple on the surface, tackles a really tricky technical challenge. It does it with this elegant, very user-friendly solution. It's a great way for you to get up to speed on some practical tech integration, how a really common pain point gets solved with some smart thinking.
And that aha moment for you, the listener, is seeing how this problem of just being overwhelmed by tech, which, let's face it, many of us feel at home with just a few gadgets, how that's tackled head on for businesses, for places like bars and restaurants, creating this almost seamless control experience. Okay, so we've painted the picture, the chaos of all those separate remotes. Let's zoom in a bit. What's the actual root cause of that multi-remote headache? What is it about the Fire Stick itself that creates this issue for, bigger venues?
Well, the core issue is how Fire Sticks work fundamentally. They require their own paired remote control, usually Bluetooth. Now, for one or two TVs at home, fine, manageable. But what's really interesting is that this whole individual pairing thing, it becomes a massive barrier when you try to scale up, taking these consumer devices into, say, a professional multi-screen environment. The very thing that makes them easy for you at home makes them incredibly difficult for a bar or gym without, well, changing how you control them.
Right, that makes perfect sense. It's designed for one-to-one, not one-to-many.
Yeah.
Can you maybe paint a picture? Like, how does that frustration actually play out day-to-day in a busy place? I'm just picturing, like, a bartender slammed during happy hour, trying to find the remote for TV number 7 while everyone's yelling about the game. That sounds stressful.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the owner of that sports bar or a waitress, maybe a DJ, trying to juggle different streams across, 10, 20 TVs at once. And it's not just the chaos in the moment, it's the ongoing headache. I mean, nobody wants to get called at home because someone on shift can't figure out which remote does what. It just eats up time, resources, stresses out the staff, and, ultimately hits the customer experience.
Okay, so that's the problem.
Yeah.
The individual pairing, the remote clutter, the operational nightmare.
Right.
So how does WolfPad actually cut through all that? This is where it gets interesting, right? They bill it as an app, a graphic interface, and hardware design, all geared towards easy control, routing multiple Fire Stick signals to multiple TVs, all from one tablet. So basically, ditch the remotes.
Exactly. That's the core idea. Cut that link, that Bluetooth umbilical cord, to the individual remote for every single Fire Stick. They figured out a way to centralize the control, completely sidestepping that original design limitation.
And the key technical trick they use to ditch all those remotes, it's actually pretty neat. It involves putting an IR adapter on each Fire Stick. And IR, infrared, that's like your old TV remote tech, needs line of sight. So instead of Bluetooth pairing one-to-one, the Fire Sticks are now listening for commands from a central IR system controlled by the WolfPad tablet. So what's it like for the user then, once that switch is made?
Well, the system basically mimics a Fire Stick remote right there on the tablet screen. And it's specifically designed to be simple, like single-purpose control for a WolfPack HDMI matrix system. Now, it's important to remember, while using it feels pretty similar to a regular Fire Stick remote, some buttons might not be active, and you still might have to, click through menus on the Fire Stick interface itself to find certain apps or shows. It centralizes the access and the routing, but doesn't completely eliminate navigating the Fire Stick's own menus.
Got it. So it controls which Fire Stick goes to which TV and gives you the basic controls, but you still use the Fire Stick interface itself. And the capacity sounds pretty serious. Up to 24 Fire Sticks, 36 TVs, plus that any in to any out thing, sending any Fire Sticks video to any TV or any group of TVs.
Yeah.
That kind of flexibility must be huge for places needing to show like multiple games at once.
Oh, definitely. Total game changer for those environments.
Now, one thing that seems really crucial here, and maybe sets WolfPad apart, is who they designed it for. It sounds like they really focused on businesses and, importantly, their non-technical staff. You mentioned sports bar owners, waitresses, hostesses, bartenders, DJs, people who aren't necessarily tech wizards. What's the significance of building something potentially complex, but making it super simple for those users?
That might be the most brilliant part of their whole approach. When you design a system like this, which is sophisticated under the hood, specifically for people who aren't tech experts, it just massively boosts employee morale and how efficiently things run in those places. Bars, restaurants, bowling alleys, casinos, gyms, you name it. When the tech just works and it's easy and you don't need a manual or call someone every time, staff are happier, they can do their main job better, they're less stressed. It takes away a major point of friction in their day.
And it does look really straightforward to use. Everything on one screen, apparently. You just pick the Fire Stick you want, hit the source button, then tap the TV buttons you want to send it to. Simple. And I like this little touch. There's an undo if you accidentally tap the wrong TV button.
Yeah, little things like if that show they were thinking about real-world use, mistakes happening.
Plus, you're not tied to one specific tablet brand. iPad, Fire Tablet, Samsung, Android businesses can use what they already have or prefer. That's flexible.
Adds to the practicality.
Okay, let's dig into the components a bit, the engineering choices they made. The system includes their own control code, an RS-232 cable that sounds serious, and a cloud customizer. And the main hardware piece involves a modified pre-owned Crestron rack mount controller. Needs 3U and a rack. So, sounds like professional gear, but with the twist, right? This pre-owned part.
Exactly. It's definitely built for a stable, professional AV setup. That 3U height is just standard rack sizing, like 3 slots stacked.
Yeah.
Pretty compact. And the RS-232 cable, that's just a super reliable, old-school way to make sure the controller talks directly to the matrix switch. Very robust. But yeah, the really clever bit is what they did with that Crestron controller.
Okay, tell me more about that. Why use pre-owned?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, using those pre-owned Crestron units, that's ingenious. It dramatically slashes the cost compared to some competing systems, which, as you mentioned, can run up to like $10,000 or even more. It's kind of resourceful innovation, you know? They're not just saving money, they're showing you can build robust, really effective solutions by using existing, high-quality, often American-made gear that's built to last. It makes you question if we always need the absolute newest thing or just the right thing for the job, even if it's proven legacy tech.
That's a great point. And they back it up too, right?
Yeah, impressively, they offer a 5-year warranty even on these pre-owned controllers. That tells you something about how durable that original Crestron gear is.
Okay, so smart tech choices, bringing the cost down significantly.
Yeah.
What about buying it? You mentioned user-friendly. Yeah, the details seem pretty straightforward. It's $2,000, ships in about 2 weeks. And they have this no-hassle purchase guarantee, free shipping, 60-day returns, free return label, no restocking fees. That removes a lot of the risk for a business. And crucially, this is a big one. No monthly fees, no yearly fees, no licenses, no subscriptions. It's a one-time buy.
That's huge for businesses planning budgets, predictable cost.
Now, you mentioned it's mainly a single user system for control. How does that work if multiple staff need access?
Right, so while you can have the app on multiple iPads or tablets on the network, only one person should really be actively changing things at any given moment to avoid, commands crossing and causing confusion. But importantly, other users can see what that active person is doing on their own tablets. So it helps coordination. You can see, oh, okay, Sarah's switching TV 3.
Okay, so one active controller, but others can monitor. Makes sense. You also mentioned a cloud-based customizer. What does that actually do for the bar owner? Is that for setting it up initially?
Exactly right. Think of it as the remote configuration tool. It lets the WolfPad team, or maybe the installer, set up the system tailored to your specific venue, which FireStick input corresponds to which button, how the TVs are labeled on the screen, the layout you need. It makes the setup really flexible without needing someone physically there for every little adjustment later on.
I see. And for that setup, what does the venue need to provide?
They'll need the input label numbers, basically how you want your Firesticks named in the app, and the model numbers of the IR components being used. Sometimes you might need to ship the tablets for the initial setup, though they mention remote setup is possible if you've bought the controller.
Okay, and there was a little note in the contents about Roku. It said up to 16 IR cables for IR control of multiple Roku, but the product is for Firesticks.
Yeah, that's a good catch. It suggests the underlying IR control system might be compatible with other IR devices like Rokus, but the product, the software, the marketing, it's all very clearly focused and optimized for Firesticks. They even state only supports Firesticks call for others. So while the hardware might have broader potential, you're buying it specifically for Firestick control.
Gotcha. And one final clarification. The WolfPad system itself for $2,000, it doesn't include the big HDMI matrix switch or the tablet, right?
Correct. Those are separate purchases. The WolfPad is the control system, the brain, the interface, the IR adapters, the controller box.
Yeah.
You need the HDMI matrix switch to actually route the video signals and a tablet to run the app.
Okay, perfect. This hook dive has really highlighted the powerful simplicity of this WolfPad system, taking what sounds like a really complex, frustrating problem, especially for businesses, and boiling it down to an intuitive tablet app.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic example of solving a very specific niche problem by really prioritizing the end user experience and doing it with smart, cost-effective tech choices, making something quite advanced feel easy for people who aren't tech experts.
So thinking about this, what does it all mean for you, listening? In a world where we often chase the newest, most complex tech, what can we learn from a solution like this? One that focuses laser-like on simplifying an existing, really annoying problem using durable, maybe even repurposed tech, and making it truly accessible. Where else could this kind of practical, user-first thinking transform frustrating tech challenges into something maybe seamless, even enjoyable, something